Oh, it's live. Okay, that's good.
Now we're live, yeah. We got 2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. God bless you guys for the thumbs down. Go fuck yourselves. How about that? That makes this video unaddable. I think we can't earn anything because I dropped the F-bomb within the first 10 seconds. So we got the mighty Spolaron, Daniel from Hotspotty, and we'll see who else shows up. But today is January 20th, 2023. Dogs are going crazy at the lawn people, of course. They can't help themselves. This seems to be the appropriate time for them to lose their shit. And Daniel, what's going on, dog?
Yeah, man, all good. I'm saying hi to Nick from Brazil. I'm in Florianopolis, the south of Brazil. It's an island where I'm actually from.
Yep.
We are growing the hotspotty team around here, like growing, like getting some developers, getting people from the island. It's a great place to be also because it's winter in the North Hemisphere. So here it's like ocean and summer. So
Yeah.
in this sense, it's been pretty cool. Yeah, we've been, I would say hotspotty, we've been still building. We have the team working, but we've been like quiet on social media because we've been like focused on figuring out like what's the best roadmap with the whole market change, um, and also finishing the fundraise, which is going pretty well, but it's almost done. I guess we started fundraising during the market um, going down. Why you're not at the beach? Yeah, I mean, I was. I can send you some pictures for you guys later on Twitter. But we decided because we have around 7 people in Florianopolis right now. We have some people from Brazil,
Okay.
like São Paulo and other cities that everybody flew to Florianopolis, and we decided, okay, let's just work from the mall because there's like a good coffee shop here. There's like AC and everything.
Okay.
But tomorrow, I'm kind of doing like a small hotspotty summit. So this weekend, we're gonna be spending time on the beach with the team, just like socializing and
Yeah.
enjoying a little bit because it's going to be a crazy year. I've got to get ready for it. So everybody's just like, okay, building the team, building the core, let's go, right?
Very cool. Okay, so you're down in Corionopolis, down in the south of Brazil. Super, super cool. Is Max down there with you yet?
Yeah, actually, he's in a call. I don't
My
know,
man,
right
Max.
there.
Maxime.
He's like not paying attention. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have actually more people, but they went for lunch
Yep.
because now it's 2 p.m. here. Maybe they'll come during the call, and I can just tell them to come over and say hi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been cool.
And then you're building the team. That's an interesting thing, and I think it's nice to actually see that because we see a lot of people talk about building, but it's always nice to see it actually happening. I mean, you got people in town. What kind of developers are you hiring? Are they like geeky Python people? Are they LoRa people? Are they radio people?
So, I mean, we've been closely talking to like a bunch of developers, but at this stage in this market, we're focusing more on like generalists. People who
Yep.
is not really focused on one tiny area. Um, I guess in this market condition as well, you want to have a small team, but have very good people around you
Yeah.
that you can throw anything at them and they can figure it out what to do. Because
Okay.
if you hire someone that's just, I know only a specific niche software, then we have a problem that we need to figure out, then he's going to have some trouble.
Interesting.
Um,
So it's like the strategy
yeah.
is not going deep; you're going wide right now.
Yeah, I mean, getting good people, I think that's something that focusing like keeping the team small, keep it lean, and working together. I think that's the focus that we want to try to do now, other than just hiring a bunch of people, right? Because
Yeah.
we need to be lean and focus, I guess.
Yeah. 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 No, that's. I mean, that's the nice thing about a down market. Nobody likes them because you feel like you're losing, but it forces you to make really good decisions, or go out of business. Like those are the two options. It's like you win or you die.
Yeah,
That's the deal.
in a way, yeah. Like because Hotspot was a self of a bootstrap company up to now, we already have this mentality of being like very focused since the beginning.
Yep.
So it's not like a company that just raised a bunch of money. Sorry, I don't know if my internet's a bit. Just company that like starts raising a bunch of money and then hiring a bunch of people, then just firing everyone because they
Yeah.
didn't know
We're losing you.
to be very focused.
We need to get network bits down there. He just apparently lit up 10 hotels with 10 gig circuits in Vegas. That's what we need in Corionopolis. Let's send you down there, dude. Get on a plane. uh Daniel, the internet's super slow. I'm picking you up a little bit, but it's coming through wicked slow. So, yeah, it looks like you can hear me, just like the visuals are down. What's up, Neil? I'll just say hi to everybody while we sort it out. Kevin, good to see you. 619. Gregory, Travis, always good to see you. Hey, Helium, Kenny, my man. Jay, Siegfried, all the usual suspects. Network Bits, Joe, Dustin. What's going on, Dustin? Dustin, what were we talking about? It was something. I felt like it was important. Maybe it was maybe I'm confusing with another Dustin, but yeah, there's actually a local Dustin here. And then Neil, what's going on, dog? Cool. That's the deal. Let's see. Daniel says he's switching Wi-Fi, so we'll get him back, I think, in a second. And when he's back, he's back. I've got a couple things. I know Paul was thinking about coming on. I'm not sure if he's freed up yet, Disc 91, but to talk about the deny list a little bit. He had some observations on that, and you know that if you're hearing stuff from Paul, it's well thought out, well researched. Like, that guy doesn't miss a beat on that stuff. And then, let's see. You're just average Dustin, right? Neil, are you... I don't know if you're coming on or not. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Daniel's rejoining. Stand by. On a different Wi-Fi. There you go.
Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm now on my phone. Cool, interesting curiosity for you all as well. Yeah, because you know how we talk in the US that it's very expensive to expand fiber connections, right? Because you have to go break a bunch of ground, like streets and everything. One thing that changed in the past, let's say, couple years here in Brazil, at least in the city that I am, literally all my friends and my family and everyone that I know have like very fast fiber in their homes, up to like a gigabit connection.
Okay.
Because they do over the street poles. So you have like, it's not everything, nothing's underground. Everything goes like on the street poles above the ground, which makes, of course, it's not very pretty, like you can see the cables and everything.
Yep.
But it's extremely cheap and very fast to deploy coverage on like backhaul.
And if I remember right, like when you put cables in the air, I'm going to get this wrong, and some electrical engineer is going to be pissed at me, but like the insulation from the air makes it way better for the signal to travel. Like when you put them underground, you have to put like way thicker insulation on them. There's some, I don't know, leakage bullshit. I'm so far out of my depth there. But there's some problem on air versus ground.
It could make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have the air is already like a natural insulator, right?
Yeah.
Up to like a certain distance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see that in the US or in Europe, you don't see any cables when you like the cities, which makes it look very clean and pretty.
Yeah.
It's just not as practical. So if you go to like Southeast Asia, South America, that I know of, you can see the cables, which makes it definitely much cheaper and easier and faster to deploy, right? So that's
why. What is dark fiber? Travis always knows like the weirdest shit. Neil, do you know what dark fiber is?
There's fiber that is lit, and there's fiber that isn't lit. So I think it's whether or not there's always a light on it or not.
Huh.
So when you're sending, I think.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Huh. Oh, Dustin's an E. He's not sure what I'm talking about at all. Great. Well, about the insulative properties of air versus ground. Oh, just not turned on. Okay, cool. Ripping.
That's sad, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's like a lot of infrastructure that is laid off. It must have cost a lot of money then, and just not being used.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we're going to see something in the next couple of years just with infrastructure and connection that's going to change the world. Jeremy, what's going on? Crypto Scotty. Everybody's jumping into my dark fiber thing. My ignorance is once again stunning. Neil, what's going on in your world? How's TrackPack doing?
Good. Keeping busy.
Yeah.
Growing.
Yeah.
Just
Nonstop. I saw Rob was on Discord yesterday fucking with everybody.
That's every day, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe it's just that I'm not on there. But when I see him, it's always funny. Let's see. I had a thing I'm going to ask you guys about. This is an unformed idea. Is what do you think is a project's responsibility in this space? And specifically, I'm thinking about Pollen. Not to pick on them, just to kind of... The way that Pollen is working is they've said... hey, we're just going to build stuff and tell you about it when we built it. And we're not going to promise anything. We're not going to tell you like, hey, in 6 months, you're going to see this or that, which is the opposite of Helium. Helium has said like, hey, we're going to have this thing soon. Two different ways of doing it. And I started thinking about like, what are the responsibilities of a project? What would you want to see in a project? Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about that. Do you think they have a responsibility to talk or not?
I do. I do think because everyone who is deploying, they're putting their personal money. Uh, you become like a in a way a stakeholder of the company, right? Because you buy them,
Yeah,
you're helping them actually deploy
yeah,
the network. And DY or TP, whatever you want to call it, is still like a community-based deployment. They rely on the community, otherwise there will be no deployment. Um, and I think not being transparent about what's happening, what the plans are, it's not something that's very good and something that people really makes it like lose credibility and also hope on the project. I
yeah,
think that Pollen, but also Helium or Nova Labs also did a lot of things in the past that they changed things from A to B like super quick without telling anyone. They didn't
sure.
have to like, okay, we're gonna change anything. So, uh, but I mean, yeah, I don't really blame them too much in a way because they are also figuring things out as things happen. It's not like a biggest company that has like a long roadmap plan that's going to take years. But I do think they have a very big responsibility to be very clear and up forward with everything that's happening because it affects everyone. Right?
Yeah. What do you think, Neil? I know you talked a lot about foundation putting money into grants, but kind of the bigger, if we zoom back out and say like, what is any project's responsibility, whether it's Helium or Pollen or React or Geode or like whatever it is. Like, do you think there are basic responsibilities that these blockchain and meat space or tipping projects should come into the space having?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they should be on top of the game when it comes to spreading the word and spreading the use case. You know, these things need to be jump started, not just with funds through crypto, but with a developer community. It's what Helium's struggling with a bit now. There isn't a huge developer community. There's a few people that are really good at what they do, but
Yeah,
really, in the grand scheme of things, we need more bodies, right? So
yeah,
that running events and space races and all sorts just to get the excitement going, they should be trying to kickstart the project themselves as well. But a big part of that communication is maybe they thought something's right, but once it's actually gone out there, it's not going to be right. So if they're not communicating, then they're not going to know that it's going to be a failure.
yeah,
So you want the feedback as soon as you get it, and you want to be able to be involved in those decisions rather than just this is what we're going to do. Like I've got to be honest, if I had a word that I could say to Helium, it wouldn't have been go for 5G. It would have been go for Wi-Fi first. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. And it's hard, right? Because I'm with you on that, but I also see like as my buddy and one of my high school buddies says, hindsight's 50-50. Is it's
Yeah.
easy to look back and say like, oh, you should have done this, and maybe at the time they had a different set of pressures, kind of pushing them to do one thing, which is what I suspect. I think that
Yeah. That's the big thing with it as well.
I
It's
mean,
like the original gateways before it become on the blockchain, and that they were sending them out with sensor dev kits. So
yeah,
people had sensors and they were using them, and then that changed over time, and they weren't sending those out. Like that was the best thing they could have done. Make sure every hotspot is always sent with a sensor.
yeah,
We'd have way more sensors on the network by now.
yeah. Although I think that'll eventually actually sort itself out. Like I would like that as well, but I think just from my own perspective deploying sensors, I think I'm certainly not the only person in the world learning how to use sensors right now. There's probably, I'm going to guess, in the Helium ecosystem, there's probably a few hundred people who are going at it kind of hammer and tongs, learning how to use sensors. And we'll see that explosion play out over the next year, 18 months, I think.
yeah,
So, yeah, I think they
but
could do it.
yeah, I agree. Like but going back to the question, like community can definitely break a project, right?
Yeah,
So I think XNet, like I remember when they first released, they forgot about that they need to pay attention to the community, and and super quickly they realized that how important that is.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what are your thoughts, though?
Um, I think it's funny. I'd always thought of marketing as just kind of BS, and that's what I found myself being good at. Right? It was like helping people get the word out, helping explain things, and I was like, oh, this is such a bullshit thing. Like it's so easy. Why is anyone, like why isn't this done better? And then as I've gone forward with these projects, I've realized like, oh no, the skill that I've got to explain things is not super usual, and not everybody has it. And so maybe it's just as important. I'm coming to this realization is that when you're building a company, it's equally important to have the skill to build it, right? To have the Mad Ninjas and the Germs and the Travis Teagues and the Capcoms to kind of go in there and have the actual coding skill to do the thing. But it's equally important to have the person that, I don't think they've any of these projects have really found yet, which is the person who can say, hey, let me explain this for you. Let me let you know what's going on. Let me let you know like the next 7 steps we think are happening. At the same time, I don't fault any of these companies for not having that, because no company before has kind of, if you were running, let's call it like a private company, you didn't need that. Like everybody who is in the know was in the know. And so now they've done this thing that it's way faster than running kind of a public company, but you're, probably not the best thing to say. Like you're issuing shares when you issue out these tokens, or you're issuing shares when you're the ability to have shares when you issue out these miners or sell these miners. And so you're having investors. And so those investors need to be kept up to speed. And it's almost like, they won't put it this way, but having like an investor relations team from the get-go as an essential part of the program is probably one of the responsibilities. Because on the technical side, I don't see any huge faults that could have, clearly been avoided. I'm like, certainly they're mistakes, but I don't see anything where it's like, like you talk to Jeremy Cooper, Travis Teague, there's 0% chance those guys don't know what they're talking about. Like those guys are wired super tight when it comes to their expertise. And so I don't see like there's expertise failures. They're just maybe communications failures, but I don't know. Maybe that's just my perspective.
Yeah.
The way it was always
Going back to the. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the way it was always explained to me is there's two types of company that do well in the world. Those with a really good product that they can rely on their skills and their product to get them sales. But the other one is a company that is all sales. They might have a bad product, but because they're marketing it so well, they do really well.
Yeah.
So it's finding the battle between those two. You really do need to do sales, but if you haven't got a good enough project, and that's what most companies are, they're trying to balance it out. But generally, like marketing will do just as well as it's like we haven't got a pet tracker live, we haven't got a pet tracker for sale, but we have a sales page up about the tracker because it's really important to generate interest and creativity and that people that pull together for it.
Yeah.
Before it's ready even. So, sales is a function that happens way before some of this technical stuff. Like we knew we were going to Solana, but the details and talking about the movies was just as important as actually doing the work,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
100% agree. And and the sales part is the one that I like the most, because me and Max are like technical founders. We build, and then we're like, hey, let's like. There's a lot of things that we don't even announce that we build just because we were focused on the other stuff. But now, like, we're gonna hire someone to focus more on the marketing, sales, and really push those things live. Then it's good. But I agree with you. It's like the balance, and it's hard. Not everyone has both skills as well, right?
Yeah. And I think like all these companies in my book get a pass because there was no template for how to do this, right? Like the closest thing was just a regular company going public. But man, the speed at which this thing has been rolled out and deployed is faster than any public company not like I'm a public company expert, but
Yeah.
way faster than anything
But
I've seen
but I
before.
mean, I take my hats to the Helium Foundation and Helium like Inc. before Nova
Yeah.
on building the network the way they did. Like the way to have each node become its own full blockchain node was an amazing idea. Of course, it wasn't scalable as fast as the network happened because of the bull run, but just the concepts is beautiful,
Yeah.
and the technical side of things. So the way that they build it like kind of makes sense, and because the network was growing way too fast, was kind of a race against time. And now, of course, the Solana move and everything. So in that sense, it was clear. Of course, the transparency sometimes. I think it's a small team, so it's not that they didn't want to be transparent. A lot of times, it can be
Yeah.
just like they didn't have the bandwidth and the focus to do that.
Yeah.
But everyone
that
suffers.
that exactly. People think the foundation are slipping up or not, delivering on materials. It's not that at all. It's just this thing was just a stupid success
Yeah.
too quickly that no one could keep up with it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is like they had the high quality problem of being way too successful, way fast, which is like, that's what everybody wants. Let's see. I know.
What about Pollen? Oh yeah.
Oh, this is the denialist thing. Do you guys want to? What was your question about Pollen? We'll hit that first.
No, because like I mean, we talk with every like project,
Yeah,
I'm not there in like California deploying, or me and Neil, right? Because we're not in the core CBRS world. Um,
Mm.
are you seeing any problem with the Pollen communications in terms of like changing things? Like I know that they changed like the rewards from daily to weekly and things like that. Like, do you see any problem with their communication?
yeah. I mean, I think here's my read on Pollen is that that team is appears to be super competent. I don't have as much exposure to them as I do to the Helium team, um, but it's not like there's a bunch of dummies there. Those guys are smart folks, and they're just doing it really differently than Helium. They're saying, look, we are not going to announce anything. Um, we are going to put the community kind of at the bottom of the stack of priorities, and we're going to put achievement and accomplishment of goals at the top of the stack of priorities. And I think that's biting them in the ass, but it's their company. They kind of run it wherever they want. And their thing is, the way they look at it is like, look, when we come out with our big news, whatever that big news is, and whenever it is, everybody's going to be psyched. And so I don't think that's the right way to do it, but I'm biased because I'm, not like a marketing guy. I think it'd be much better to say like, hey, we're pursuing these 7 contracts, and here's what we think will happen when we get them, and here's what you can do as an individual deployer to support that, and here's why we haven't been whatever XYZ on this project. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think they're just doing it a different way,
yeah.
and it remains to be seen if that's the right way.
Right. Yeah, when you spend $10,000 in a cell, it's kind of too risky, right, for most people to not know what's happening.
Yeah, but I think there's also this responsibility that a bunch of us took on without knowing it, without doing the due diligence, because the rewards in the beginning were so great. If you took the time to do due diligence, you were losing out on. I mean, what was it, guys? Like Daniel literally taught me how to get the DIY hotspot online. Neil was in it a month before I was. We're all in that kind of late summer, midsummer 2020. If you took 3 weeks to due diligence, I think the first hotspot I put up was doing like 120 HNT a day, right? So 3 weeks, 21 days times 120 HNT, like you lost a bunch of money. And so with these
Yeah, yeah.
projects,
My
like it,
due diligence, my due diligence on Helium meant that I hit the pause button on buying 20 more than the day after they sold out.
yeah,
I would have been a lot further along, just literally, but I was doing my diligence.
yeah, yeah. And I did zero. I was just like, oh, this guy down the street's making $3,000 on this $400 piece of kit. I can do the math on that. I'm in. But I also didn't buy 20 of them. I was just like, I'll buy one and see what happens. So I think this idea of just applying the old way of thinking to these new style of companies it's like a nice starting template, but
Yeah.
it's not actually that useful. I'll put one more thing on here before we do the deny list, because I think at least talking about the deny list and making sure folks have an idea of what's going on is important. Is that I think this is an unpopular opinion, and it comes from my ignorance about the entire 5G CBRS space, which I don't see being an appropriate project for any of these things. Um, is that if, and I'm sure the Helium folks will watch this and be like, "You're such an idiot." If they made me king for a day, I would. Here's what I would do with the 5G side: say, "Hey guys, we made a mistake with 5G. We jumped the gun on it. We are going to stop the project. We will buy back all of the hardware that has been sold, and we are going straight to Wi-Fi." Like, hey, we made a mistake. We're a blockchain company. We're early. We're new. Super sorry about it. We're going to do what we can by buying back hardware, but we're crushing on Wi-Fi. That's what I do, and then, yeah, see what happens from there. Now, I could be totally wrong. There's a ton of information I don't know, so don't
You're gonna
pretend
do
that's. Go ahead.
if you're gonna do that, then you might as well just send them all a free Wi-Fi hotspot. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and
because
that's me talking out of total ignorance. So it's probably not a great idea, but that's what I do. Swing the hammer a little bit. If you got that thing. Let's see. I'm just catching up on the chat. Pollen seems like it's struggling. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're just a different thing. Jeez, you guys are writing a bunch while I was talking.
I know they're all having an argument. I was just going to say on the thing about withholding information. I think that's something that comes with time and trust, right? Like we know that Nova are working on things on the background that we have no idea about from Capcom's tweet. There's 2 unrenounced
Oh
things.
yeah,
There's a load of projects that come in that we just don't know about, but we can trust them a bit more with that because we have some experience with them. Pollen just seems a bit new, and no, they're just too small to be able to do that. But it might be that they are just at a point where they're sick of community feedback, that they just need to hunker down and chew glass and get through fruit and development to get to the next stage. Otherwise, they're going to die.
Yeah.
So it's difficult without knowing them what stage they're at. But
Yeah. And when I was talking to someone at Pollen yesterday, they were a little bit frustrated reading. There's a bunch of Telegram, bunch of different chats. Someone had said across a bunch of those, like, the devs should fix the price. And you're like, that's not how it works. And I can see as a project, you're just like, dude, let's just ignore all of this shit and kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater and get something done. So
Yeah. Also, Helium, I think Nova Lab is really focused on the mobile carrier now, right? So there's the kind of like that's what I see. The foundations focus more on IoT side of things, and Nova pretty much becoming a mobile carrier. Um,
yeah,
which in the end, the Wi-Fi 6 could be part of that plan, right? I don't know because they, like you said, they don't know what they're building. I know they're building a lot of things. Because like they bought Freedom Farm, for example, right?
yeah.
To become that.
And I think the other thing is, like, here I am, one dude at a desk in San Diego, California. Like, I'm pretty good at understanding things and explaining them. I don't know much about like what they're doing at Helium, so I'm assuming they have a plan. I'm assuming the plan is probably pretty well thought out and good. And I'll look like an idiot for saying what I just said, but yeah, fuck it.
I mean, on my guess, is exactly what JM is saying. It's not a CBRS network; it's a
Yeah,
mobile network. CBRS is just the way to do it. Like it's just the protocol that are used to transfer data, and
yeah,
we can do the same thing with Wi-Fi. Because I remember talking to the foundation team about how they're going to do the Wi-Fi 6. Is that your phone will be able to like connect to the network similar way that has like the CBRS, right? Like it's gonna connect your phone or your computer to that Wi-Fi as it was part of the data only mobile carrier. So it would make sense and it could expand worldwide, right? Because it is quite annoying every time you go to a different country that you have to buy a new SIM card, etc.
what did I just do? I broke something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a total pain in the ass when you're Let's see if I can get that back. There you go. If when you're traveling to constantly be buying new stuff.
I
Let's
mean,
see.
also Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi DAB is very different. Right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool options out here, and it's easy for us, or for me. I'll just speak for myself. Easy for me to sit on the sidelines and be like, "Oh, you should have done this. You should have done that." And there's a famous commercial from years back with this. Max will kill me because I don't know the football quarterback's name, but some badass American football quarterback is watching a lady walk out of a grocery store with a bag full of groceries, and the bottom of the bag breaks out because it's just a single bag, and her groceries fall all over the parking lot. And he's just looking from the sidelines. He's like, I'd have double bagged it. It's like it's easy for us to sit on the sidelines and tell them what they should have done, but at the time, like no one knew, and I'm 100% certain that at the time they did announce the 5G thing, that wasn't something that they felt like they had an option on. I think they felt like they had to
Yeah,
be the first ones to announce.
I like to use the sentence like you are doing the best you can with the information that you have. Right? So it's really hard to know exactly what's happening. Um,
Yeah, well, Amir's here, dude.
it,
Come on, hit me on DMs. We'll get you on here. You can tell us what we're doing wrong because I'm certainly don't know don't know all the info here. Let's see. What else? The other thing I saw is that recently, I want to say, was it minted? And I know Nova in the past couple months has let a bunch of kind of LoRa people out back into the wild, let them go. It seems like right now, if you were starting a company and you wanted to take a little bit of a risk, there is a ton of LoRa talent and kind of talent that knows about this space. Maybe it's not super deep across all of them, but you got Travis, that dude knows enough about all this stuff to kind of run his own show. If you wanted to take a risk and start a kind of LoRa-based company, now's a pretty darn good time to do it, like Sensor as a Service or whatever it is.
there are a ton of devs on the loose recently from a lot of companies that we all know, right?
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really interesting to me, and I wonder kind of what's driving. I mean, I don't wonder that much what's driving it. Like the drop in the price means that you can't sell tokens. You can't sell tokens, and your business plan was predicated upon selling tokens. Like, pretty tough to run that show. I think we've all run into that in the past 6 months. But at the same time, like I'm just thinking like, dude, how do I get these people on board with GK or with whatever I'm doing? Because I don't think we'll have this opportunity again to snap up good people for a while. Like once they're gone, it's going to be kind of a not a lot of folks in the market that can do that.
Yeah, it's cycles, right? We live
Yeah.
in the world lives in cycles, so it's a good cycle to hire people if you can. Good people got laid off, so if you
Yeah.
can, this is the time now.
Yeah. Let's see. So the lore folks looking for, we're talking about. Let's talk about this deny list thing. What's the latest for that? It seems to me, and I could be wrong here, is that the Helium Foundation Nova doing their best to get cheaters off the network, and a couple of innocent folks are getting wrapped up, and the innocent folks who get wrapped up are super loud. Am I wrong in that, or is it way more than normal?
You just have to be careful when you say that. You just have to remind people that the foundation do not run the deny list. Nova does not run the deny list.
Thank you.
So just people know that it is run by the community. But yeah, there's a big deny list put in. The first batch a month or so ago was 10K. The false positive rate was about 1% or just over 1%. So far on this batch of 20K, so far, I'm not saying it's going to be this, but it's about 1% again. So, but there are some known gaming groups trying to disrupt, trying to force a rollback. So it is blowing up a lot. But there's a just I think it's 100 and something hotspots that have been removed as false positives so far. But there's a lot of people that are trying to proclaim their innocence, and when you look up the data on chain, it just screams gamer, you know.
Okay. All right. I always assume people are going to be good, and I forget that not everyone is going to be good, and that if you're determined to earn H&T at any cost, you can cause a lot of problems.
The idea
Especially
is
in
to just
crypto.
get it rolled back, but that's what they're trying to do. That's
Got
why
it.
they're being sent out everywhere.
And I've had people, hit me on DM across every possible social platform saying like, some version of what the fuck, I'm innocent. Why is my hotspot on the deny list? And I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a few in Australia got hit hard, for example, but that's where their power limit changed recently.
Yeah.
The algorithm has picked up the Australian hotspots more than most, so there are a lot that are being quickly removed. It just takes time. An algorithm detects it quite quickly, but every single request is manually checked, and it's not like it's just you go to one page and it says yes, this is gaming. You're looking at the picture. The way it was described to me is like you're painting a picture and you add layers of data onto that until you come to a final decision. You might look at the location versus other witnesses. You might look at the signal strength. You might look at a ton more data, and you layer all these things on, and then you eventually come to something, and that's what the algorithm's flagging up. So even if you are being legit, you compared to the rest of the network, something looks fishy. So it's raised you up. And Starwatch has spent months refining that, so that number's as low as possible, but it's still quite.
Oh, here
It's
comes
still
Travis.
quite.
Here comes Travis stirring the pot. Yeah, I mean, Australia, I think San Diego's bigger than Australia as far as population. So, yeah, I don't see why we should pay any attention to that country. There's an island at the bottom of the world.
Ooh, you're going to make some enemies.
Well, you've told me, Neil, I can have a fist fight with him and then go have a beer afterwards. So
Exactly. They want to resolve it and then have a pint with you afterwards. It's their mentality. If you do them wrong, you dishonor them, they're going to challenge you on it.
Yeah. No, they're nice and vocal.
Just adding some data here because I also run the deny list and hotspotty. We have right now from the latest deny list, 159,000 hotspots are in the deny list. So roughly like 16% of the networks in the deny list. Just FYI.
Dang, okay.
And there's still about another 30K to add as well. So
okay.
About 20%.
And then, Neil, walk me through this. I'm just going to sound dangerously ignorant again, but walk me through how a hotspot gets on the deny list if it's not the Foundation or Nova running it. Like, it's just Starwatcher throws this algorithm at it, and then does it flag the hotspot and say, somebody please check this, and then a person goes in and checks it?
there is a list produced, and that list is then checked. And once they're happy, or a certain amount of people are happy with that, then they then push it through. From what I understand, it's been months of, is
Yeah.
this refined enough? Is this refined enough? Can we do better? Can we do better? And then every time a false positive's flagged up, the algorithms change. So I say there's 30k more to go, but based on the false positives, that number might change. So it's an evolving thing. And you know how long Star Wars has been at that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
kept trying to get him like to come on, come on, come on, come on, and I think he's just so busy. He's like, dude, I don't have time for this shit. I don't have time to talk about it. I'm doing stuff. My man Max, kind of fishy. I mean, I wonder, Max, have any of yours been on the deny list? I haven't looked at all of mine, but mine seem to be not, and they are unusually high
it's,
earners, and I don't know. I don't understand it.
it's difficult because if you're in an area where there are gamers, your signals can start looking funny,
Ah, okay.
compared to other areas. So that's where the false positives are coming in. You're swept up in the crazy amount of gaming in your area. Like Turkey in particular was a very bad area for packet stuffing. So that can be that you just got caught up in it, and there's a receiver somewhere near you forwarding it on.
Yeah. Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's
Once again,
difficult.
like nuances beyond
Yeah.
languages. Yep. Let's see. Once fine timing kicks in, fewer false negatives. Cool. Super cool. Um,
Yeah, I receive a lot of emails because we have the intercom on hotspotty.
yeah.
So a lot of people come to us like, "Oh, my hotspot on the nine list, what I need to do." So I usually forward them to the website and the documentation how to do this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we,
I
we
always feel
hotspotty don't do anything to that.
that's the thing. It's like I get these emails or DMs or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, can you get my thing off?" And it's like, dude, obviously I don't even know how the thing works. Like my thing is right now is fuck the hotspots. Get sensors on. Like as long as sensors are working, I don't care about the hotspots. And maybe that's the wrong thing to say, but even like the bangingest hotspot out there is, it's not making enough to, that's legit. Is not making enough to be worth paying attention to unless you love being outside. Like I like going and checking on my hotspot, not because the HNT earnings, because I like being out in the mountains and hiking around and doing tech shit.
It's a beautiful view, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the rad thing.
You go up there just to jump off, though, don't you?
Yeah,
So
yeah. But I had that false launch or bad launch, failed launch. But yeah. No, that's the plan this year is to try and get up there once a week and fly off that thing, hike out. Let's see. Bobby Chad keeps hinting me on this VEHNT thing, so I'll put it up here. I don't know about this thing. He seems to think it's giant. You guys have any comments on this thing?
not really.
I
It's
I
so
know that I'm gonna keep my validators
You're gonna keep them
staked.
staked. Yeah, I was talking with the guy that I split my validator with yesterday. He was like, "Hey, dude, should we unstake? Like, what do you think?" And I was like, "I'm just gonna leave it alone. I've got so much other shit going on. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not sure if that's the best move, and it may not be, but I feel like it's
I
probably
mean,
helping the.
on crypto,
What's that?
yeah, like if you can help, if you, yeah, I think it's very personal, of course, right? But I think like if you can help the network, I think that's what the validators do. We all have so much going on in terms of trying to, instead of trying to like improve our crypto earnings.
Yep.
And in my past history, just leaving it alone and like doing staking and then making some baby crypto on the long term is better than you trying to win the game or trying to time the market instead of time in the market, right? So
Yeah.
just focus in your life, focus on building good things, and just leave the crypto alone. That's going to be probably way more profitable than trying to optimize everything. That's my take.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like all my efforts right now are going to sensors and not to gateways. Um, Travis, thanks for reminding me of this. I think this is super cool that I'm seeing in larger fleet owners, in the Gristle crew, and then outside of it, is people are starting to say, hey, 50% of my fleet is offline. I'm just going to transfer the hotspot to the host, and they can have it, they can handle it, they can do whatever they want with it. Like it's no longer worth it for me to have the hassle of a host calling me up and saying what's going on with my hotspot. I'll just give it to them. And I think that's a pretty cool, like altruistic, rad thing, and also selfish thing to do. Like those things, it seems like the incentives line up pretty well there. Where you made the money you're going to make on your hotspot, and you just give it away. Like it's not doing crazy shit anymore. And then you're like, hey, this is your problem. So, anything on that,
Still better
Neil?
than things network.
What's that?
It's like, I mean, like still better than the things network, right? That you get kudos in exchange for deploying the hotspots.
Yeah,
So even if you get a little bit of thing, or give to the person so that person can get some extra beer money,
yeah,
I think it's a good.
super cool. Are you seeing this, Neil? Are you thinking about this for any of your hotspots? I forget how many you have. If you got a giant fleet or not.
I've got about 42, but a lot of them are turned off because I got crappy bobcats and nebras. So
Mm.
right at the start. So yeah, I mean they're turning off. But looking at price increases recently, if you look at the AHR on that, the return of value is still quite good to deploy a hotspot right now. So yeah, it might not be good for you to run your business off just deploying hotspots now, but to the homeowner, it makes a ton of sense to give them the hotspot because it's enough for them to get by.
Yeah,
It's quite a nice little addition to pay a bill.
yeah, yeah. Were the bobcats that bad? I thought those were pretty good. The
The
nevers, I
V
know.
ones were, yeah, when we're back when we were sinking the chain,
Uh
they couldn't keep up, they kept crashing, and then they put an impedance matching cap on the Bobcat itself. So if you used anything other than the standard antenna, it wasn't tuned for it, so it just caused problems. So you couldn't use them on anything but the standard antennas.
huh. Yeah, I know the. Let's see. Devin's got the first bobcat that I got. I sent it on to him. And then
Yeah,
when
and
I
they work fine if you try them on their antennas, but then the second you try it on anything else, it's like, oh, this isn't working. This doesn't make sense. I've taken it from indoors to outside. Like, why is it not
should be
better?
better. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I'll ask Devin how's his doing, or maybe I'll look his hotspot up. Um, yeah, I remember that was a super cool project. They sent me a bobcat. I sent it up to Germ. Germ dug into the guts of it, and then we sent it on to Devin. That's super cool. The last thing that I've got on my list of things to talk about today is Solana and NFTs. And I think this is like total kind of like future thinking stuff. What I'm seeing in the Sandstorm competition is people are just talking on Twitter, like saying, I can't believe how much crazy shit is coming out of that thing. I'm super curious about what you guys think will happen with this, with the move to Solana, with the ability of NFTs, obviously the smart contracts thing. Yeah, what are you thinking?
I'm super excited. It's gonna be a ton of work. We're still like already getting ready for that. Moving the hotspotty connect, become more like Solana friendly because right now we're focused on like current like chain.
Yeah,
I mean, in a way, that's the talk that we are having like I think yesterday or the day before on the Helium Foundation Discord. Is that right now the hotspots are already NFTs, right? They just don't show in your like Solana wallet because basically the hotspots are a non-fungible token. They're a device that has the physical world and then they're unique in your wallet as well. Then you cannot break them apart. So in that way, every hotspot's always been an NFT since the beginning. Before
ah,
an NFT was like hype.
okay. Neil, I
Um,
see you smiling.
I,
What are you thinking, dog?
I wish we could rename it something else, not NFT. It's just got such a negative. When you say
Ah,
NFT, people see pictures, don't they? But they
yeah,
don't understand that the hotspots, like Daniel said, are already NFTs. I
yeah.
wish we could
I
just,
didn't realize that either.
you know?
yeah, that's the cool thing. Like NFT is not necessarily a picture of a cat that has like 10,000 varieties of that picture. NFT is like an unique asset, and like Helium had NFTs before they were cool,
That's
kind of
right.
thing.
I almost
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
got
like
one.
a hot,
Keenan got
yeah.
mine, I
So
think. Keenan got the one I bid on for that thing.
so so in that sense, it's not going to be a lot of change. But yeah, Neil's right. Like the name is for the hotspots are not because people there's hate NFTs because they think like, oh, I bought this $10,000 picture and now it's worth like 10 cents.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has nothing to do with the pictures thing, right? That's the magic of NFTs.
Which is
Um,
just the tipping thing, isn't it? Is it tipping or deeping or is it da, 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 like can
Yeah,
we
yeah,
just
yeah.
like on chain deeds or something?
Yeah.
Just call it something different so we can get away from that. Oh, it's a pretty cat picture. Like it's meant to be for like house deeds and employment contracts and insurance contracts and things like that, and it's just not being used for that because people are just exploiting the meme side of things to earn money. And it's just
Interesting.
such a shame that it's got such negative I can't say the word negative press
Connotations,
around
yeah.
all of these. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just I think it. just puts people off. Oh, why Helium doing NFTs now? Why am I going to get a pretty picture of a hotspot in my wallet? Not understanding, well, they're already NFTs, but it's just like on-chain deed. That's what it is.
Huh.
That's what they're trying to represent in the picture.
So we're gonna see, just like we're seeing all the marketing assholes fight over Tippin versus Deepin versus POPW versus Edge5 versus whatever the latest is.
Mid space. Yeah.
Meat Space, yeah. Thank you, Daniel. Obviously the king, the one that's gonna win. Like,
That's the one.
like I told all the time, that's not gonna win. Is it there's gonna be a bunch of names for these? That's interesting, Neil. That's pretty cool.
It would be really
Yeah.
nice,
I mean,
but I doubt it would happen. You know what it is like that. But
also the change for Solana is going to be good for tax purposes as well, because you're not going to have 1 billion transactions to your wallet happen every month. So, because like a lot of tools, I think Coinly, for example, is a website they use to pay to help you with the crypto taxes. They charge you per transaction. Just look how many transactions each hotspot makes to your wallet in a
Yeah.
daily base. So the way it's going to be implemented now, it's going to be really good.
Huh. Yeah, I'm psyched to see what happens with this. I'm psyched to see how people use it. I hadn't thought about renaming it, but that pretty clear. Like, names are way more powerful than I'd thought. And that if you come up with a name that inspires like instant kind of trust and understanding, that's not NFT, all of a sudden you've got a lot of new life in something that has some legs. Like the whole, I mean, I've seen everybody I've talked to as a fleet really wants this thing to happen so they can do the split payments thing and like make all that stuff super easy. Daniel, you might be the at the forefront of that list of folks.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we already made it as easy as we could. I mean,
Yeah.
people doing crypto split, it's easy to do in hotspot. You can just like one click and then
Yeah.
log into like zip link on the wallet. And now it's funny because like the first version of hotspot it took like half an hour to do, and then go into half an hour to 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 30 seconds, and maybe now it's gonna be zero, right? Because you can also do like a smart contract.
Just be automatic. Yeah.
But we're still gonna do. But on hotspot, we're gonna can maintain this as well because there's a lot of people who use it to pay in fiat or different ways, so they won't be able to do it through a smart contract then. But yeah, we're gonna keep on building on that front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Solana, super high, super bullish on that.
It's
Scared on how much things we're gonna have to work, but hype, yeah.
Neil, anything there? No, you're mute. Here's something that's interesting to me is Travis. I don't know that Travis, I've seen you before. Maybe you've been watching this for a while. And this is an interesting question, not because there's a single correct answer, but because I think we're going to see a lot of new folks coming into the Helium space who have some access from some other way, whether they're coming in from learning about Laura, whether they're coming in from Solana, whether they're coming in from something else, and they're going to have the same questions that we had 2 years ago. And if we can apply our experience to help them out, that might be a cool kind of thing. I've never had a best hotspot pick. I think Neil or
Rack.
Rack?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's simply because of the fact that Helium helped design the concentrator card.
Yeah.
Right, we started the project, and it's just meant that they have the strongest. You look at seeded, they're not as sensitive, but if you look at some of the cheaper ones, they've forgotten low pass filters.
Yep.
Just to save on money. So Rack have definitely got the best concentrator card.
Huh. Okay.
But then you don't have a dashboard. You can use the lovely hotspotty to do most things and see the status on them. But that's the only one that I think about them.
Yeah, I like Rack too. I mean, we have a good relationship with them since way before Hotspotty.
Yep.
Because we have the first hotspot that we bought from them as well. And I always been very transparent. Jose is like an amazing guy that's like always helping the community, always like on the events and also doing customer support and everything. So in a way, yeah, if I would have to pick one right now, I'd pick Rack. But I'm quite interested to see how it's going to be the move to Solana, right? Because the maker is also going to have to do change. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of those makers are going to succeed in the transfer.
Yeah. Let's see. We got this one, which is funny. SB for those who don't know, Synchробit. Synchробit is not doing any hotspots anymore. They're out of business as far as I know. But
Yep.
it brings up this really interesting kind of set of problems that, like, what do you do with the maker that's gone out of business? What do you do with their maker key? What do you do with their hotspots if they just walk away from them? How do you get them onto a dashboard? How do you make it so other people can use those? And right now, if I'm understanding it right, it's not financially worth it for another company to take over a dead company's hotspots.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about it and we thought about to see if we could help, but like you said, it's not financially viable. One thing that we're thinking on doing is like writing some tutorials and guides on how people can transfer a Syncrobit to Balena
Yep.
and use a free Balena account, because I think you can have up to, I don't know, 10 devices for free on Balena, so
Huh.
we can just do that.
Oh,
So then
cool.
but then it's not like, if you have no idea anything technical, it's not going to be that easy, even though it's quite straightforward to do. But we can try to do like a tutorial. You just like get a SIM card and download the image and etc.
Yeah.
But I
Let
think
me know
that's
if
the
you need
easiest
help with
way.
it. Although
Yeah,
you're the
yeah,
one that taught me, so I don't need to teach you anything about showing people how to do things.
yeah. I'm happy to get some help in there for sure,
Yeah.
especially promoting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's this thing that if you don't have one of these dead hotspots, like I don't have any Syncrobits, so it's not something that's pressing for me. But I forget how many are on there. You can see all this on chain, but it's not
Mm.
like 100 Syncrobits are on there. There's something like 10 or 15 or 17,000 of the things.
I think
That are,
someone said the
Yeah,
other day they're still delivering as well, so they're
yeah.
still
So
being.
it's
yeah. I
something
mean,
to kind
Travis
of
was
think
saying
about. Yeah.
Open Balena. Open
Okay.
Balena is you can run like, Balena has an open source version of the whole infrastructure, like just the backend called Open Balena. If you want to have like a big fleet of devices, you can do that for free. It's just not very easy to maintain, I'd say.
Yeah. On the
Yeah.
so Oh, go ahead, Neil.
I was just going to say, Nebra are the easiest one to do that with at the moment. They have guides on every single hotspot make to copy them over, well, nearly all of them. But you can just run it on OpenBalena, so you can look at the services.
Okay.
So, but it's more access than you've ever had with OpenBalena. Like you can go into the logs and look at the witnesses and stuff. Whereas like on a rack, you just can't do anything like that. But with OpenBalena, you could stop the service, restart the service, swap the service out. Do everything that you
Okay.
really need to do on a high level. So it's a great dashboard.
So it's like having a DIY.
Yeah.
Which is that brings us to this next piece. I should make this a little bit smaller. Have DIY hotspots been abandoned? So this is like the other end of the spectrum, as far as I know, and I don't know how important or how private this information is, but less than 1,000 DIYs were ever kind of made, released, whatever, and I think it's less than half than that. So it doesn't affect many people. It affects me because that's what most of my hotspots are. And I'm thinking like, all right, as we move away from the Helium app, the blue one, and go to the black one, like how's that going to affect what I can do? I don't think it's going to be a huge problem at all for me. But yeah, it's pretty interesting just to see like as the ecosystem evolves, what happens, and how do we kind of handle some of the legacy issues around it. So, what's this? A gentleman's? Well, I don't think you can say gentleman's pool. I think it's got to be a general pool. But what day will be the Solana move? The closest guess is the winner. Yeah, yeah. Let's. Can we write a smart contract for that? You just put your HNT up as collateral or something, and it goes to the winner. That'd be super fun. I'm sure illegal as well, like betting or something.
April Fools. Go on, that'd be a good day to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could do it. So we could do it like an Excel file or a Google sheet, but it'd be cooler to do it on some kind of contract. All right, catching up on the chat.
Well, I was going to say if they're mad lads, they'll do it on 420, won't they, or something like that,
Yeah.
just to.
Well, 619 will be psyched if it's on 420. Oh yeah, and like this is another one of these kind of legacy issues. Is you got a maker wallet that doesn't have any DC in it to onboard new wallets. Like, how do you know that they're going to add it? And how do we handle that? And that's something definitely that the MCC has been discussing lately. Is like, what is it? What is right, and then how do you make sure that the community has a strong hand in making that decision?
Mm.
Yeah, that's a complicated one. I mean, I remember, I don't know who I was talking to about that. Makers should have had some way to, like, they need to stake some money that they lose if they don't follow through with these things. But on the other hand, I don't think was very fair to the makers the way that Helium made them burn Agent T to onboard devices, because they need to buy their own Agent T. So it's
It's a
quite
risk.
dangerous for a company to have to buy HNT on a fluctuating price to onboard device. So if I invested $1 million in HNT, thinking about my company to be able to onboard for 1 year, but then those 1 million is worth like, I don't know, 100,000 or like 50,000 now.
Yeah.
It's quite risky. And then your onboarding is in data credits, right? So it's, I don't know, crazy to me.
Yeah. 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 It's a tough thing.
Yeah, it needs a backup. I mean, it needs to go. Is there funds in the maker wallet? If there isn't, can it be self funded from the wallet that's trying to onboard it? You know, not saying because the pair will still exist on the server and on the hotspot, so it can work. But it just needs a backup to say if there isn't any in the makers, let the person pay for it. I mean, in theory, that's sorry, my dog's snoring. In theory, that's a criminal offence. You paid for something and they haven't delivered it, so that's something you could take up in the local court for them not giving you that service. But at least you could get your hotspot on. You wouldn't just
Yeah.
be stuck in limbo. Or the only other way is that you could randomly burn a load of DC to that wallet and then hope that you're the only one that tries to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think it was Rob last night in Discord was telling people like, hey, here's how you can onboard your own hotspot somehow, or like it was some kind of magic that he's good at that is beyond my understanding. But if you've got a hotspot that the maker doesn't have DC in, that you can somehow do it yourself. Does that sound right, or does that sound like I'm misunderstanding that totally?
I think the maker wallet has to be funded to do it. Otherwise, the only other way is that you have to send DC to that wallet and then do it, hoping no one uses it.
I think that was his thing. Is you send DC there and you immediately, whatever, onboard it and hope that no one jumps in the meantime. I think that was it. That makes sense. Cool. Let's see. Well, I'll put out a date. I think it's probably not propitious, but the Ides of March 15th. I think we're going to be on Solana on March 15th. You don't think so either? You think it's April?
No, I have to go 420 now. It's so close. So
Okay.
go
Daniel,
for me.
you got a date?
I mean, 420 sounds like a beautiful date as well. Um,
Fucking stoners.
I would say 10th of April.
The 10th of April. Okay, you're gonna split
10th of
it.
April.
Yeah, yeah. No, it'll be. I mean, the whole thing is like we're all excited to see what happens once we get on there and how the whole thing changes and gets better in every way. I think the funny thing is if you're coming into Helium now or even in the last 6 months, it's been relatively stable, right? If you think back a year and a half, remember we'd have like every week the whole chain would be stalled and like the devs be going like mad to fix it and everybody be screaming and pissing and moaning. And it seems like recently I haven't seen really any of that.
Yeah, exactly. The ATL has been stable as well. I haven't had too many nights without sleeping because of that.
Yeah. Is there a way to send DC, Neil? I thought DC is non-transferable, so they have to send HNT to that wallet. Not sure. I'm not sure myself. So
Exactly. There is a method that you can burn it to that wallet, I think.
Huh. Okay. So there's some geek. I mean, I saw Rob talking about it, and I haven't seen him be wrong about anything yet. So sounds like it's possible, but I just didn't have any kind of understanding of what goes on there. Ripping. All right. Well, we got a couple minutes left. Anything else going down in Corionopolis? I heard there's an open invite for anyone who wants to join the hotspotty team. If you can get to Corionopolis, you can get an interview.
Exactly. I mean, I will try to do the next set of a network from the beach, so guys, I'm not in the mall then.
All right. Next one is on the beach. I got it. Neil, what's anything going on with you?
Nothing new at the moment, but I'm sure I'll talk about have something chill soon.
Ooh, sounds fancy. Sounds very fancy. Oh, here's a thing from Dustin. You can use the CLI to burn HNT to make your address. Okay. Cool. Ripping. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think, Max and I are going to Miami next week. We're going to go see a bunch of blockchain people there. We're going to see what's going on at Helium Mobile. The next state of the network will be from wherever we're staying in Miami. So you can expect the internet connection to be maybe good, maybe not. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff going on in that world, and I think we're going to see like the onboarding of a bunch of new crypto people into the Helium world, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, it was very interesting during the break point, right? When we were in the train, there's a lot of people who didn't know anything about helium too.
Crazy.
Thing around with sensors.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot to be built still.
Yeah, it's like I'm starting to get sick of saying we're still early, but we're still pretty early. It's like we'll be early until 2025 is my guess. Cool. All right, well, I think that that wraps it. We got 10 seconds left. I don't think that's enough time to do anything cool. So if you came on today, thanks a ton for coming in. Thanks a ton for watching. It was good to see Capcom come in here. Maybe we'll get him on the show, actually, and we can have him tell me how stupid all my ideas are about rolling back 5G. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Rock and roll. Bye-bye.